yellow hat. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. Today the man had a surprise for George. He took George to the beach. They found a spot on the warm sand. Then another surprise. George saw his friend Betsy. Look, Betsy, her grandmother said. It's curious, George, but Betsy did not even smile. She had never been in the ocean before. She was scared. I know you're a good swimmer, the man told her. You'll be fine. Once you get in the water, feeling better, Betsy walked toward the shore with her grandmother. George helped spread the beach blanket and set aside their lunch. He was looking forward to a picnic, but it was not yet time to eat. It was time to play. In no time, George was having fun. He learned a new game. He dug in the sand and he made a new friend. Monkeys are good at making friends. When he took a break, George watched the lifeguard. The lifeguard sat in a special chair. Sometimes he blew a whistle. And sometimes he looked through binoculars. It looked like fun to be a lifeguard. George was curious. Could he be a lifeguard? Before long, the lifeguard took a break. He was George's chance. Watching the crowd from up in the special chair, George felt just like a lifeguard. He looked through the binoculars. There was a lot to see at the beach. He saw seagulls flying high above, and he saw Betsy on the shore. Below, she still had not been in the water. Then the lifeguard saw George. Hey, he yelled. That's no place for a monkey. George thought it was a fine place for a monkey, but he did not want to cause trouble, so he climbed down. And where's George? He's on the lifeguard seat. Now George saw who was talking. His treats, it was a seagull, and he was still hungry. George took out another cracker, and the bird took it right out of his hand. What fun to feed a seagull. George saw more seagulls down by the water. Betsy was there too. George was curious. Could those seagulls be hungry? I'm on page 16 now.
Oh, yeah.
Indeed, they were hungry soon. whole flock had gathered, George could not feed them fast any. Luckily, Betsy was glad. To help out of the basket came more crackers, cookies, a cake, and even the bread for sandwiches.
Mom, you see harder. You see, Mommy.
The birds were hungry, but then when George reached for more snacks, the basket was gone. He and Betsy were having so much fun. They didn't notice the tide coming.
I want to see it on your phone. I want to see it on your phone.
They didn't notice the picnic basket was floating out to sea. George felt bad. He hadn't meant to lose the basket. Could there be a way to catch it? George thought and thought. Then he remembered the lifeguard. George was no lifeguard, but to save the basket he knew just what to do. Quickly he found a float and carried it to the water. Jumping aboard, George began to paddle. He paddled out a little farther and a little farther, until finally he reached the basket. Betsy cheered then as George paddled back to the beach. Betsy swam out to meet him. Everyone was glad to see George safe on the shore. The lifeguard, who had seen everything from his chair, said that was some rescue. George felt proud. The man with the yellow hat had picked up the basket. He was curious. George, is this our basket? He asked. Poor George. After all that, the basket was empty. There would be no picnic on the beach, and it was all his fault. Then Betsy's grandmother said, "Won't you join us for lunch? We have plenty, and look now, we have a reason to celebrate." Thanks to George, they did have a reason to celebrate. Betsy was in the water, and she wasn't scared anymore. She was having fun. After everyone joined Betsy and George for a swim, it was time to eat at last. There were sandwiches and chips, bananas, cookies, and watermelon. There was plenty for everyone, and there was even a little for guests at the end.
Well done!
Hey, well done, Finlay. Brilliant.
Very funny.
Excellent.
Say.
Well
Well
done.
done, Finlay.